A year later, Ulysses was born. Within a couple of years, maybe a little bit less, Molly, and then Henry thereafter. And last night, Amy was sending me updates from Ulysses' baseball game in Las Cruces, New Mexico, sending me little videos that she was taking through the cyclone fencing of him at bat. Was walked at his first at bat, stole second, slid right through the legs of the second baseman, safe, got an RBI on his second at bat, and as you can imagine, made his dad so proud and so grateful that Amy would send those videos, those pictures, and those updates to me in my hotel room in Des Moines last night. And so very much on my mind, those kids, my wife, our hometown, but they're very much a part of why I'm running to serve you as President of the United States. It is their judgment that I fear, the knowledge that they will know sooner or later what we were up against in 2019 and 2020. The millions who were unable to see a doctor or provide for their kids. The kids who are behind cyclone fencing right now under a bridge in El Paso, having traveled 2,000 miles from some of the deadliest countries on the face of the planet. Much of those 2,000 miles on foot, some of it atop a train known as the Beast or La Bestia, not inside, in the seats. Showing up penniless, not knowing the language, strangers in a strange land. And this is how our country has welcomed them. The most powerful, the wealthiest country on the face of the planet. The most powerful country the world has ever known in the history of human civilization. And we will be defined by the way in which we respond. Let us not be tempted to lay the blame at the feet of one man, no matter the office that he holds or the party to which he belongs. In a democracy, this is on every single one of us. And my kids will know that, even if they don't know that today. And they'll know that we had an opportunity because we come from that community that in so many ways positively defines this country. El Paso is also one of the safest cities in the United States of America. A quarter of those with whom I live were born in another country, chose us, came here from the world over to do better for themselves and their kids, just like I want to do better for myself and my kids. But they also came here because they were called to us to contribute to our shared success, to our greatness, and they have. We are the safest, or one of the safest cities in the U.S. because we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees. Their very presence makes us stronger, makes us more successful. And yes, though this flies in the face of the rhetoric from the president and what many people in this country believe, it improves the security of the United States. When I think about the fact that in Texas, and I'm learning in Iowa, far too many educators and school teachers and counselors and nurses and school bus drivers and cafeteria workers are working a second or a third job just to make ends meet, though they have the most important job in front of them, that child whose lifelong love of learning can be unlocked if that educator can focus on that child. And once that is unlocked, that kid is unstoppable. This country, by extension, is unbeatable. I want to make sure that they're paid a living wage, that they have just that one job, the most important job. I want to make sure that they're not having to operate under the pressure of a high stakes, high pressure, standardized test, something that you were aware of from your time on the school board, of allowing those teachers to do what they were called to do, knowing full well they're not going to become wealthy in their lives, that out of their own pocket, they're going to pay not just for the decorations in the classroom, not just for the supplies for the kid who forgot to bring them from home, but for that hot meal, for that child who's on free and reduced breakfast and lunch, but has no meal to look forward to when she goes home from school. That set of clothes for the kid who's shown up in the same jeans and t-shirt every single day of the week because he doesn't have another change of clothes at home. So often it is that educator who pays for the necessities of those kids. I want to make sure that we back that educator. And I want us all to think about how our lives have been changed by those public school educators. The reason we named our firstborn Ulysses is because we didn't have the guts to name him Odysseus. Reading the Odyssey with the help of a school teacher who could unlock those stories for me changed my life. Opened up opportunities I didn't know existed. And when I learned from high school seniors at El Paso High that they're now reading the abridged version, because they have to set aside so many days for standardized test prep in that school. To me, it shows that we have our priorities upside down. When I look at an economy where it's not just school teachers and educators working 2 and 3 jobs, it's so many millions of our fellow Americans who are working their hearts out, their hands, their feet, everything that they've got, their heads, and then they've got to go work a second job just to make ends meet for their families. They're the same families that cannot read to their child before the first day of kindergarten or first grade. It helps to explain why so many kids at 5 years old on the first day of kindergarten are 10 months back in reading comprehension, 10 months back or 12 months back in math. There's never a moment to press pause and to catch up. Those kids are going to be less likely to graduate from high school, to be college ready or career ready. They're going to be unable to shoulder their fair share of the burden going forward, and also to provide their potential and their genius for us. The jobs that they could work, the family they could raise, the poetry that they may write, the businesses that they could start, the land that they might be able to farm. All of that is lost to all of us when we fail to make the investment in one another. So not just a world-class pre-K through 12 system, college that is affordable for all at a time of $1.5 trillion in outstanding student loan debt. 10% of those carrying it are in default right now, unable to manage the burden that is on their backs. It's bad for them. It's even worse for us as an economy, as a country, and as a society. So let's stop digging the hole. Let's make sure that community college is free to all Americans. Let's make sure that public serving 4-year institutions do not add debt to those who are trying to improve themselves so that they can improve their prospects and that of their family, their community, and of their country. Let's make investments in people by making sure that women earn the same wages that men earn in every single job for equal work performed and equal value provided. Let's make sure that if you want to take care of a family member, yourself, raise your child, that there is paid family leave universally in this country that allows you to do what you need to do for yourself without sacrificing your job or your income or your ability to pay the rent. Let's ensure that we outlaw discrimination in this country, which is alive and well in this country, including in the workplace. In Texas, you can be fired for your sexual orientation. In Texas, you can be denied the ability to adopt a child because you are too gay. In Texas and in so much of the country, we need to ensure that we have full civil rights for every single one of our Americans. Signing the Equality Act into law will guarantee that and ensure that we do a better job of bringing out the very best from every single one of us. But if we're going to talk about equality, if we're going to talk about justice, if we're going to talk about civil rights, let's also acknowledge this, that in some parts of this country, in too many of our communities, there are some, by the color of their skin, who are not able to fully participate in the success of our democracy, of our economy. Texas ranked 50th in the country prior to 2018 in voter turnout, not because we love our democracy any less than you do here in Iowa, but the courts found in 2017 that some people were drawn out of a congressional district, drawn out of a reason to vote, drawn out of their very democracy, solely based on the color of their skin. You can use your license to carry a firearm. That's not working either. We may have to dispense with the mic. Is it working now? Okay. You can use your license to carry a firearm to prove who you are at the ballot box in Texas. You cannot use your student ID at the University of Texas at Austin or Texas Southern University or Paul Quinn College to prove who you are at the ballot box to predictable results and outcomes. So we need a new Voting Rights Act to bring everyone into our democracy. We need same day and automatic voter registration in every single part of the country. We need to end the practice of gerrymandering where members of Congress are choosing their own voters instead of the other way around. Sorry, I want to make sure, should I just not use the microphone or is it working?
It's working.
Okay, sorry. I want to make sure also, and it's one of the reasons we don't take a dime of political action committee money from anyone for any interest, so we get this big money out of our politics. Corporations are not people. Money is not speech. They shouldn't be allowed to spend unlimited amounts of money to purchase the outcomes of our elections and the legislation before members of Congress. But that is exactly what is happening in institutions that have been captured and corrupted by those who have the money to purchase that access and those outcomes. Sorry, this is feeding back. But a political democracy is only possible if we have something approaching an economic democracy in this country. Those are, más o menos, the words of one of the great progressive leaders who followed the last concentration of wealth and power and privilege that we had in this country in the Gilded Age. Out of that came people like Theodore Roosevelt, who said those words or something approaching those words. And what he meant is that this concentration of power and wealth and privilege must be broken up. There's going to be opportunity for all of us in this country. Every child and every man and every woman must be able to see a future for themselves in this country, or else this country will have no future as a democracy. And so I want to make sure that when we're talking about opportunity for all, that we really mean it. We mean it when we talk about education. We mean it when we talk about jobs, that one job should be enough. We mean it when we talk about universal, guaranteed, high-quality healthcare so that you are well enough to go to school, pursue your passion, reveal your genius to the rest of this country. And we mean it when we are talking about justice. In a country that hosts the largest prison population on the face of the planet, disproportionately comprised of people of color, too many there for non-violent drug crimes, including, get this, possession of cannabis, a substance that is legal or decriminalized in the majority of the states of the Union. And yet we're still locking people up, disproportionately of color, though Americans of all races, across all races, use marijuana at roughly the same rate. Only some, more than others, are going to be arrested, are going to be locked up upon release, checking a box on every employment application form that says that they have a conviction, making it less likely that they get the job. Now will no longer be eligible for student loans to better themselves through higher education so that they can better all of us with what they do in their lives. We need real justice reform, and that means more than just ending the prohibition on marijuana, though we must. It means more than just expunging the arrest records for those caught with possession of something that's legal in most of the country. We must do that as well. But we must also end prisons for profit in this country. We must end a cash bail system that keeps some people in jail because they are too poor to get out of jail. And we must end a war on drugs that has become a war on people, some people more than others. And this, the hardest of all for us to do. In our 243 years, we have never yet accomplished this. Fully confront the legacy of slavery, of segregation, of Jim Crow, of continuing suppression in our communities. It is alive and well, and not just in the state of Texas. There is 10 times the wealth today in white America than there is in black America. And that is not an accident. That is 100% by design. Whether it is redlining, preventing African Americans in this country for generations, including in the lifetimes of those here in this room, from being able to build the wealth that they themselves can enjoy or pass on to their kids, that will serve as the seed capital for starting a small business or pursuing your higher education or whatever it is you're supposed to do in your lives, criminalizing entire communities based on their color and locking others out of the ballot box. This is what we have done to our fellow Americans. Wittingly on the part of some, unwittingly on the part of others. Regardless, all of us need to know the truth and the facts and the full story, or we will never begin the work of repairing the damage done and preventing these injustices from being committed again and again and again. I want to make sure that whoever you are, wherever you come from, to whoever you pray, whoever you love, however many generations you can count yourself an American, or whether you just got here yesterday, that before we are anything else, we are Americans first. We find a way to come together around these otherwise intractable challenges, not as Democrats or Republicans, big city or small town, but as Americans. It's the way that I served in the Congress. It's the way that I campaigned across those 254 counties in Texas. It's the way that I introduced myself to you here today. I want to make sure that at this defining moment of truth for Ulysses and Molly and Henry and your kids and the generations that will follow us, the people of the future, that when we had the moment to act, we did so together and we were not found wanting. That's why I'm running to serve you as President of the United States of America for everybody in America, regardless of where you are. So thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for opening up your home.